Hello and welcome to the launch of the Global Tech Ecosystem Index 2026. My name is Orla Browne and I'm here with two colleagues.
Peter van Sabben.
Nina Chaloum.
And we are going to be unpacking the report, the findings, the rankings, and how you can explore all of the data underneath this whole index. So this is the third time that we are doing this. Maybe a little bit about who we are first. And yeah, we did say, please introduce yourselves in the chat. I've already been seeing people dialing in from everywhere, seemingly. We've got South Africa / Lithuania, cool combo, Ouagadougou, South Yorkshire, Brno, Angers, Tokyo. But yeah, let us know where you're tuning in from. We are here in Amsterdam, and who we are is Dealroom. So we map the world's tech ecosystems with a source of record on startups, innovation, high-growth companies, venture capital. And we support government ecosystem builders as well as VCs and corporates to discover the most promising companies and tech ecosystems around the world. And yeah, we already work with 120 different tech ecosystem partners already. But in this ranking, we're actually representing even more than that as well. So yeah, a little bit about the ecosystem index. So there's 325 cities that are ranked in this index and benchmarked against each other. And we're going to get into all of the different metrics that are in there that go into ranking these cities. But maybe a little bit about why we do this as well, Peter.
So why do we do this and why do we do this ranking yearly? It's the most transparent ranking for startups and tech ecosystems. So we want to show which cities are having momentum and doing well with the policies and where you really see the flywheel of building a tech ecosystem running. So we make this yearly. Nobody pays for it. We do this. And then, why we do this mainly to support entrepreneurship and innovation.
Nice. And we do, we look at it in a few different ways as well. So we actually have 3 lenses that we look at these ecosystems through. And Nina has been working with others in the team, but very closely on all of this data and on these 3 lenses. Do you want to talk us through a little bit about each of these 3 rankings?
Yeah, so the goal of having 3 lenses is to really to take an ecosystem and really highlight its strengths in 3 different ways. So the first way is that we look at global champions. So that really highlights the biggest tech ecosystems, the one that have the most scale. So we look at metric like enterprise value, like number of unicorns, and we look at those in absolute terms. The second lens is the density leaders. That's basically taking similar metrics, but looking at them per capita. So that serves us because we can highlight the cities that perform the best based on their size and that really punch above their weight. And the third lens is the rising stars. So the goal here is to highlight the cities that are rising the fastest. So we look at metrics like EV growth, unicorn growth, and really highlight those cities that have the most momentum.
Nice. And we had all of these 3 rankings last year as well. And yeah, you kind of mentioned some of the metrics there. Do you want to talk us through a little bit of anything that's changed this year, some of the methodology and the weighting?
Yeah, so one of the main change is that we have updated the data. So all of the data that is referenced in this index for like tech activity, VC investment, those kinds of things, refers to the data as of the end of 2025. The other change is that we used to have, as part of the innovation and talent, we included patents for global champions and density leaders. That's something that we've decided to remove this year. So we really just focus on the university linkages and kind of the founder outputs. And then the other part is that we've reduced the weight of the gross metrics as well. So for instance, looking at the global champions, the ecosystem momentum, like total funding growth, that weighs less as part of the total score, just so that we avoid outside changes in the rankings on a year-on-year basis, basically.
Okay, nice. And we're going to be unpacking, all 3 rankings, going through some of the top-ranked cities, and what else we're going to do today in this session.
So the three lenses, and then we also going to show the dashboard. We can going to compare some cities if you want to maybe see some cities and maybe ask some questions in the chat so we can check. And we also have some mini clips from experts who are building those tech ecosystems with policies, or from a government side or from a private initiatives. And we listen to some of those clips, and those interviews will be shared later on in the upcoming time as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and I accidentally skipped over it, but there's been lots of coverage of the index. It went out this morning, and it's been lots of people talking about it already.
Exactly. Important.
Yeah, I also saw the Mayor of London just shared it just before we came on air as well, which is nice. So without further ado, let's get into the first ranking, the scale lens, the global champions. So we've got some familiar looking names at the top there, maybe some of the cities that people would expect to see. So right at the top, the Bay Area, followed by New York City, Boston. Nina, do you want to talk us through any of the things that stand out to you in the ranking as well?
Yeah, I think especially looking at the top 10, Austin stands out quite a bit by its growth since last year. So it has a lot of momentum, obviously some valuation growth with Tesla, but also momentum beyond that, like several rounds raised above 1 billion by some companies there, some new unicorns in defense tech. So that's a notable one. And in general, the US is very represented in the top 10, in the top 20. So I think we have 10 cities in the US in the top 20. For instance, if we look at Europe, we have 3 cities like Paris, London, and Stockholm.
Yeah, and maybe to preempt some questions, and do put questions in the chat, Peter's going to keep an eye on it. But to preempt some questions about what counts as a city, so we're looking at the metro areas for each of these. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. And we also include companies that were founded in a specific city but might have relocated since then. So companies that were founded in Paris but relocated to the US would be counted as part of Paris as well.
Okay, nice. And yeah, looking outside of the top 20 then, so you mentioned some more European representation in the top 50.
Yeah, so for European representation, I think, London is the first city in Europe, so it's particularly strong 2025 in terms of VC investment raised. I think we saw some big rounds, like especially in AI, N-Scale, Isomorphic Labs. And yeah, I think we might have a...
Yes, so we actually spoke to Janet Coyle, who's Managing Director of Grow London at London & Partners, and she told us a little bit about how the vibes are high in London tech right now.
But even 2 weeks ago, we had FinTech Week, and I was at various events and hosting panels, and I was really struck by the fact that we had London & Partners, of course, we had Innovate Finance, the corporation responsible for the square mile, the City of London. We had a government minister, Level 39, one of the key accelerators in FinTech. Everyone really coming together to welcome the world, and all on message, and this real sort of dynamic energy about the excitement. I mean, you talk about London being 4th in the latest rankings in FinTech. We're actually number 1 in some of the data. And there was this real energy and excitement about the future and how we continue that pace of innovation. And I think that was also super important, that we're all, on this journey in quite a fast pace, but together.
Yeah, I think it's super cool to see a lot of vibe in London, London Maxing. I think there's a lot of momentum happening there in London. So well done and keep it up. What do we see more in the top 20? Stockholm, maybe?
Yeah, also in Europe, obviously Paris, and then Stockholm, which is pretty ranked 19th, but it's a pretty good ranking considering its size. A lot of AI momentum at the moment in Stockholm as well.
And I think super impressive for the size of roughly 2 million people population in that city. We also had an interview with Peter Sandberger, the Deputy CEO of Stockholm Chamber of Commerce, talking a little bit more about the role of the government in building this tech ecosystem and how long it takes with long-term strategy. Maybe let's listen to that one.
I think if you look at how the Swedish tech cluster appeared, it would have started around 20, 25 years ago, but it really was fueled by the unicorns of 15 years ago. The government had very little active intervention behind that. I mean, you could benefit the government with giving us a strong welfare state, which makes it easy to fail. That's something you don't get in all countries, but you get in most Western European countries. We have made reforms to our tax system, which makes it more attractive to reinvest our capital. I mean, 8 out of 10 Swedes are shareholders in the stock exchange. Our pension funds, we changed our pension system from a defined benefit to a defined contribution scheme already back in the 1990s. So we have a very vivid equity market, which means that money needs to be invested, which helps entrepreneurs in the end because it provides capital on the market. But then also, I think you create a critical mass at the end of the day. The original wave of unicorns, which we had, they each would have created hundreds of millionaires who reinvest as angels and advisors, founders of the next wave. Your Daniel Ek at Spotify, your Niklas Zennström at Skype, or Sebastian Siemiatkowski at Klarna. They're not just writing checks, they're also sitting actively in the boardrooms. And they're probably introducing them to international VCs from North America, or Western Europe, or Southeast Asia as well. So they're sort of feeding back into the industry. And I think it's actually Dealroom data that said that Spotify and Klarna are actually the top founder factories in Europe. And if you add in Games Developer King as well in the top 10, those 3 unicorns alone have produced over 160 tech businesses in the last 10 years. That's pretty remarkable. And not to mention that they would also have created some very wealthy and healthy venture capital firms in the wake of Spotify and Klarna and the others. So, I mean, there's a strong VC environment as well in Sweden with Crandom and Northzone and EQT Ventures, etc.
Yeah, I think a great example to see like that the flywheel is really happening in Stockholm. Great city and impressive what they have done. So super curious where they are next year.
Yeah, not just those old companies like Spotify and Klarna, but new, really exciting companies like Lovable and Echo Health, and some of the hottest companies in Europe right now coming out of Stockholm. So pretty cool. I want to address a few things in the chat. I know that our colleague Lorenzo is hopefully helping to answer some of them as we go along as well, but let's try and pick them up. Somebody commenting on Austin slowly taking over the Bay Area, taxes and government policy changing this. Yeah, I mean, clearly a lot of momentum and really strong positioning for Austin in this year's ranking. And there was also a question about the boundaries, the kind of what we count as a hub. And, some of them are maybe bigger areas like the Bay Area or Research Triangle versus like London, but not Golden Triangle. We basically try to look at it as what is a functional tech hub in the real sense. So not just kind of population-based or, municipality boundaries, but what actually operates as a single tech hub. And you get that in the Bay Area. You do get that in Research Triangle as well. And although there's lots of mixing between Oxford and Cambridge and London are not far away, they are kind of separate tech hubs, right, Nina?
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Keep your questions coming in, and we will try and get to them. But yeah, we wanted to look. So we've looked at a few of the European cities featured here, but we wanted to have a look a bit further as well. So the top 10 for Asia Pacific. So we've got a nice spread on the map here in China, in Korea, in India. We've got Tokyo in there as well. We've got Hong Kong. Any that stand out to you, Nina?
Yeah, I think Seoul as well, which if we were to look at it globally, they make the top 10. Hong Kong, I also think is making the top 10 for APAC this year. So
nice. Yeah, we also spoke to Jane Chan, who's head of startups at Invest Hong Kong, who talked to us about Hong Kong's strength in their founder diversity.
In terms of the founders, about a third of the founders come from outside of Hong Kong. So Hong Kong is incredibly international. And of this third, about most of them come from mainland China, but the next areas are the UK, US, France, and Australia, actually. So, we also have Singaporeans and Germans and India as well. But I think in terms of the top five, those are it. And it basically, again, reflects how international Hong Kong is. We've always been historically a trading hub, and we've been that kind of access to and from China. And that's been like decades before the whole startup ecosystem started, before we got into the whole, financial centers. So there's always been this very long history of Hong Kong being that kind of gateway for international companies and people to actually access China and vice versa. A lot of mainland Chinese companies leveraging Hong Kong to go international through us as well.
Great. Yeah, I mean, you see how important it is to attract international talent with that. And obviously, talent being one of the key ingredients for any successful tech ecosystem. I was just looking at the chat again. We've got Andrew Chalk saying, why is Australia dead in this slide? Well, it's slightly unfair. I would say Lorenzo's just shared a link to the full ranking where you can see all the information about every city. But we've actually got a report on Australian tech coming out quite soon. So do look out for that because there'll be lots of specific data there. But yeah, we've got a few different rankings to get through, so we should maybe move on to the density leaders. So these density leaders we mentioned at the top, these are the cities that are punching above their weight. So if we just look on a pure scale lens, then there are some cities that will just always come out on top, but it might be kind of hiding the fact that in some smaller places there's some really amazing innovation happening. It's just in a smaller location. So Nina, do you want to talk us through some of the ones on here?
Yeah, so I mean, I think what stands out in terms of the top 10 is that it's still very US dominated. We find a lot of the same cities that were in the global champions because even if they're bigger by size, their tech output is also so massive that it just makes them rank very high in the ranking. But when we look at the top 20, and even when we broaden, we'll see later in the dashboard to the top 20 here, Europe is a lot more even, and we'll find a lot of these smaller cities as well, which are home to like a lot of technical universities or who just have a lot of tech outputs compared to their size. And especially in Europe, some cities like Ghent, Lausanne, Tallinn as well.
Yeah, it almost feels unfair that the Bay Area is still the top here, followed by Boston, but it just shows how far ahead that even on a per capita lens, they still come out on top. But lots of interesting cities on there. Cambridge was super highly ranked last year as well, and they are again. You also mentioned some of the other sort of technically strong university kind of hubs, such as Lausanne, but also like Tallinn. We know that they have been punched above their weight for a long time. As well. So Ghent, I think, is a cool one because they're coming into the top 10 for the first time. And I know that they were. There's been a lot of happy people from Ghent sharing the ranking so far today, Lausanne as well. I think you spoke to them earlier.
Yeah, we spoke with Patrick Barry, Managing Director of Innovate, responsible for the region development and policies for Lausanne, and he talked about the global mindset and also the different sectors in that region. So let's listen to him. Why this momentum?
First, you have to understand Switzerland is a small country with a high density of industry, economy, also capital, as everybody knows. And you have two main hubs, of course, Zurich region and the Lausanne region in the western part. In Switzerland, any tech company with ambition must, from the start, aim for the global market. The local market is too limited. So there is a mentality of born global in the different startups here. Lausanne and its surrounding ecosystem comprises between 800,000 inhabitants or 2 million, depending the size of the radius of the ecosystem you consider. So I think one of the reasons is really the kind of long view strategy of the policymakers in this region. Some of the policies and support mechanisms are 20 years old. And you can even look at the FIT Foundation, which is a foundation giving out loans to startups, 100K Swiss francs, up to 500,000. It's been founded in 94, so it's already 32 years old. Of course, there were not so many startups at the time, but it was already starting to be active in that area. Another aspect is the economy is very diversified here in this region. You find life sciences companies, but also watchmaking industry, automotive suppliers, med tech. So it's very, very diverse. So as you know, innovation comes often in the combination of different sectors, and you have plenty of opportunities to do that in this area. I should also mention the academic density. It plays a key role in innovation. There is around Lausanne a large number of universities. EPFL I mentioned already, but there is also the University of Lausanne, University Hospital, IMD, which is an executive school, or also EHL, École Hôtelière de Lausanne, so hospitality school. And these different universities give a good background in which to create an innovative company.
Yeah, I think cool to see in Lausanne like that the role of the universities, how important they are, but also that if you have different sectors, right, that they overlap and you can have more innovation and talent helping each other. Pretty impressive for that kind of city to have so much momentum. Yeah.
For sure. And yeah, we mentioned a few of the European cities in this density leaders list as well. So we can see them on the map here. Yeah, I mean, we also saw actually like Oxford is in there, but they dropped a few places last year. Is there any kind of reason for some of these movements, Nina?
Yeah, so in the case of Oxford, it's more related to their VC per capita. So they had a very high VC raised in 2021 comparatively to what they're doing now. And since 2021 is no longer counted as part of the kind of data window for this ranking. So that's why, we see the drop.
Okay, so yeah, sometimes an outlier couple of rounds can kind of move
exactly.
things quite a lot. Nice. And yeah, we've got Munich on here as well. So they've, we think of Munich now as being a real tech hub and deep tech hub in particular. And so, yeah, any kind of reasons in particular why Munich is kind of featured in this density list?
Yeah, so they have a few very strong companies, like high value companies, Helsing, for instance. And then, that raised a lot of mega rounds in 2024, 2025. Celonis as well. And then there's a few more emerging ones, Personio, and quite a bit of momentum in defense tech and quantum as well.
And there are some common denominators between some of these cities. We mentioned it already, but those universities, lots of these are big university towns and generating a lot of spin-outs. So not just kind of academic excellence, but also turning it into entrepreneurship in Oxford and Cambridge and Ghent and Munich and elsewhere as well.
Yeah. And I think with Munich, if defense tech, for example, is a big sector getting a lot of momentum, of course, and also the whole deep tech space in Munich is beautiful position there with and the technical universities, but also the older economy, let's say. And we had an interview with Dr. Fabian Mehring, the Bavarian State Minister of Digital Affairs, and beautiful interview where he explained the hardware agenda they have and also the mission where everybody's behind. So word to watch. Here's a short clip from him explaining why the momentum.
I think this is, of course, as well a combination of different factors. One thing is that we have a cutting-edge research here in Munich. We have our TUM, we have our LMU, we have research institutes like Fraunhofer or much more like these research institutions. And that helps us in that category. But there are not only the research institutions, we do also have a very high-class traditional industry. I mean, think of Siemens, think of BMW, think of Audi. We have a vibrant startup ecosystem, 2,500 startups around Munich at the moment, 10 unicorns in the middle of that. And we have our SMEs, our what we call Mittelstand here in Bavaria, which is kind of the backbone of our economy in Bavaria. And I think part of our success recipe is that we bring them all together. We started to understand each other as one team, a team of researchers, of SMEs, of industry, of startups. We're sitting at the same table and we are doing the things together. And that is working pretty good in my eyes. And of course, we do have a high quality of living, what helps us in the race on talents here in Bavaria. The Alps at the fingertips, the best beer in the world, of course. So that's all working together. But I think it's especially the combination between startups, industry, and research that makes this such a good place to be if we are talking about future technologies.
Yeah, I think short clip, but I think what Dr. Fabian Meering is doing is like bringing all stakeholders together in that area, and he's doing that really well with one clear mission. We will share the interview later on after this webinar, but really worth to watch, and I think Munich has a lot of potential for next year to even grow further. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Looking at the chat, so we have some few more comments. So we got a question about Grenoble dropping. I don't think they are. We're gonna check. We can show on the dashboard in a little bit, but we've actually moved up a few places, right, Nina? So that's good news. And some questions about other regions, so APAC and Middle East. So as I mentioned at the top, there's 325 cities from 77 countries listed in the index. All of them you can explore on the dashboard, and we're going to have a couple of Middle East cities that are going to be featured in the next ranking as well. Moving on to the rising stars. These are the fastest growing emerging hubs. So the ones that may be growing from a lower base potentially, but that are the ones to potentially look out for in the future. So there's a lot of movement in this section. Can you kind of maybe explain to us a little bit why we see a bit more volatility in this ranking compared to some of the others, Nina?
Yeah, so this ranking's main metrics are really based on like growth metrics, so EV growth, unicorn growth. So it's really all about that momentum. And that means that, as you said, Orla, will see a lot more volatility year on year. And also, in general, the cities that tend to be featured in this ranking tend to be smaller as well, because what we try to look at is growth from a smaller base. And that means that a few companies can have a wider impact on the overall ecosystem, like a few very large unicorns can have a wider impact.
But we do have Istanbul, and we have Riyadh in here as well, representing Middle East and / Europe for Istanbul. But a lot of Chinese and Indian cities in here.
Yeah, so for China, there's a lot of deep tech that is starting. I think now around half of the VC investment raised in China goes to deep tech. And looking at Hefei, which is the second city ranked in the Global Rising Stars, is really a kind of emerging hub in China for semiconductors, quantum, and so that's why we see its place so high this year. India obviously is a bit more diversified, so Mumbai has stronger base that it's starting from with like a lot of fintech, mobility, edtech, marketplaces. And just in general, India has been quite good at attracting investment still in the last few years.
And we have one city from Africa in here as well, so Johannesburg.
Yeah, Johannesburg also, I think, ranking 4. So that showcases the progress that they've made in the last few years. And GoTime Bank, which is like a main digital bank, has become a unicorn in 2024. And in general, like VC investment has been increasing as well.
Yeah, and this is the global view, but you can also, as we'll show shortly, look at it on a regional basis or a country basis. So I see that Invest Sheffield is mentioning that they are the top rising star in the UK, for example. So that's they claim the crown nationally for this year. This shows a little bit of that spread. So it's nice to see a more global map for the rising stars as well. It's not just kind of dominated by North America and by Europe, and lots of those European and Chinese cities in there. Riyadh, you mentioned it as well. So what was it for Riyadh that was kind of helping with their ranking this year?
Yeah, so Riyadh, I mean, we can also see it a bit in the dashboard maybe later, but they ranked very high when it comes to unicorn growth. So a lot of new unicorns in the last few years. Rasan, which IPO'd in 2024. Ninja as well, so in the fintech marketplace kind of space. And then Tabi, which is a major e-commerce company as well, which raised back-to-back rounds in the last few years, back-to-back late-stage rounds.
Nice. But yeah, let's. It's I think time for us to show a little bit about what's going on beyond just the top 20, because it's nice to kind of do the reveal, but we also really want to. We really wanted to build this into a tool that could be used by ecosystem builders to understand their tech ecosystem and to help them benchmark against one another. So, I wanted to kind of show direct.
Yeah, so
platform.
also still keep asking your questions. If we maybe can compare some cities or some places, then we can share. It's a live demo, so let's see how it goes.
Fingers
And
crossed.
exactly what Orla is saying as well, like why are we doing this and why is it completely public, open, transparent? Maybe to repeat is like you want to learn like what your strengths are as a city. You also want to learn like if you benchmark certain cities, why are they certain doing better? And then you can ask about the policies and the strategies and what they do. So we provide the data and that's what we do yearly now. Maybe we can start with then the global champion, and then maybe we can compare two cities.
Yes. Okay. So I think Lorenzo has already shared this link in the chat, so people will be able to, you can kind of play along if you like, or play with this tool afterwards in your free time. But if you go here, so the Tech Ecosystem Index on the left-hand side under locations, once you're on the Dealroom app, this will take you into all of the data. So all of the metrics underneath the 325 cities. So at the top, you'll see the top 20 here, as we've already kind of shown you. But below is the full list.
Yeah.
We could also have a look, if we click this detailed view, you'll see every metric that's underneath this particular ranking. So we're looking at global champions for now. And you can see, exactly how many unicorns are in each city and what their global rank is on that particular metric. But we can just also look at the simplified overview here. And we also mentioned that you can compare some cities. So
Let's do maybe London and Los Angeles to just two who close.
Yeah, for
with
sure.
different area.
Absolutely. So if we click on that, selected those two in the table and click compare. Maybe it went a bit fast there actually, but I'll go back and do it again. Select London, select LA, and at the top here we've got compare two locations. We can actually compare more than up to 4. So, but we'll do 2 for now. And you can see again all of those metrics that they're measured on, and you can see their kind of relative positioning on each of them compared to each other. But another nice way of looking at it is if we click this radar button here, then you'll see those metrics again mapped against each other, where the winner gets kind of 100% and the other has its relative positioning. So we can see that, for example, in LA, they have a higher combined enterprise value, so 1.1 trillion versus London's 700 billion, but that London has had higher funding growth in recent years. So, you can see where the relative strengths are, where maybe you want to spend some attention, but then these are two kind of very closely ranked hubs in 4th and 5th on the global scale as well. We can actually click through to see how they compare on the different rankings as well by going through to the density leaders and rising stars. I mentioned that you can add some more locations here, so we could add in Abu Dhabi as well. So they've had really high funding growth, more than the others. You can let's put in Aachen, maybe a little unfair. But go back to the table view and you see all of those metrics as well. But yeah, we can maybe also move on to have a look at the density leaders as well, because there's a few different metrics that go into that, as we kind of explained. So we can also kind of click on one city and then you see all of the information. So in the density leaders, we look at early VC per capita, breakout VC per capita, late stage VC per capita, enterprise value per capita, and then we also look at some of the alumni related metrics. So do you want to actually explain a little bit what we mean here, Nina, about the alumni startups from a particular city?
Yeah, so in this case, we're looking at the universities from that ecosystem. And we're looking at how they managed to transform, university and basically links to those universities into actual entrepreneurship. So we're looking at the number of founders that are coming, that are alumni from these universities, and that then go and build their own company. And we divide it in terms of how much VC investment these founders have raised. So yes, early stage, breakout stage, and late stage.
Yeah, and so Cambridge, maybe not surprisingly, doing really well there on the alumni metrics. But we can compare a couple other cities. Actually, there's some in the chat, so maybe we can take some of
Birmingham, Manchester.
Birmingham and Manchester, yeah.
So let's try that.
So we got two Birminghams actually, but I'm presuming they want Birmingham, UK.
I think so, yeah.
And we'll go 0161 money on the map. And then we can compare those two. Okay. Yeah. So we can see that on the right-hand side, Manchester is kind of winning on most of those metrics, if it's a straight head-to-head. But let's have a look at let's look at the global champions. Let's find somewhere. Okay, so Birmingham's got actually really strong funding growth between 19 and 20 versus 24 and 25. So they've got better on that metric than Manchester. And let's see across the other rankings as well. So yeah, I mean, Manchester has more unicorns, and they've got quite similar. Actually, Birmingham's got slightly better EV growth as well. So they're winning on that metric too. And there was another one as well. So we've got Joburg and Cape Town. Maybe we can have a look at those too.
Yeah, maybe Orla is searching them, like why it's so important to look at almost like as a funnel. Is you take ecosystem, like you want, of course, as a city, you want to have new startups that are coming, for example, out of universities or just normal. But you also want that they like raising seed and growing. But you also want that the startups are becoming scale-ups, and scale-ups are becoming further. For example, ThoughtBread, those are companies that are 100 million. Doing 100 million revenue or bigger, right? And then after a while, even go, for example, to the stock market. So that whole funnel is important to look at your ecosystem. That's why we have those metrics, as for example, and you also see a radar overview.
Yeah, so we see with Johannesburg and Cape Town a nicer mix of strengths between that they're sharing between them. So we've got very similar levels of breakout venture capital that's being raised. So this is rounds between 15 and 100 million. But there's more being raised at early stage in Cape Town and more at late stage in Johannesburg. So that's kind of interesting. And yeah, the whole kind of purpose of this tool as well is to help ecosystems benchmark against true peers. So not just always comparing themselves to the Bay Area, for example, which might be unrealistic, or even your local neighbor. But it could be that by looking at the rankings through these different lenses, you start understanding which are your peer ecosystems that might be anywhere else in the world, and how you kind of benchmark your metrics against those.
Yeah, I can add to that obviously at Dealroom we also do research on very specific cities, like reports that we're commissioned to do for specific countries or cities, and we tend to use that ecosystem index to kind of identify which peers are the most relevant to compare it to, rather than just looking at maybe the top ones in their region or something like that. So it's been very useful for that.
So eating our own dog food on that one. Nice.
Maybe we can still show the rising stars for Johannesburg, Cape Town. Yeah.
Yeah. So for those ones, so we've got More couple unicorns in Johannesburg, but we've got kind of strong EV growth across both of them as well. If we look at the rising stars in general, maybe we can compare a couple of the.
Yeah, and maybe we can show regional, so you can.
Yes, true.
Yeah.
A good
So you can
point.
filter per region, right? So you can also see like, hey, how do I do on the global list, but how do I do on my regional rank, right? And then you can see your peer cities again.
Yeah, exactly. So Sabben asked about MENA. So we can filter on that, and you can see your own regional rank here. So the world rank, but also the regional rank. And then again, you can kind of compare these cities, or you can also put in your own particular country, and that's where Sheffield find themselves above London on the Rising Stars list for 2026, which is super nice. So you can drill down very far into all of this. You can also choose to rank by any of the individual metrics. So maybe you just want to see what the ranking is on total unicorns or on new unicorn growth or any of these particular ones that's different from the overall ranking that we're showing in these three lenses as well. I don't know if are there any more requests for comparisons in the chat?
Yeah, any other questions or cities you want to see, then we can still show them.
Or any questions about methodology or anything else as well. Maybe we can also do a little sneak peek of this other section.
I was thinking we have a bit of more time, so if there's some other questions, we will monitor them. But maybe in the meantime, we can give a sneak preview about the sector strength, and then the sector strength is really like where do you have a concentration with on a certain sector in your city, right? Versus the overall index. So maybe we can show that a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. So this is kind of getting to like grade 7, 8 of ecosystem analysis, but where you want to drill down into which are your particular city's strengths in terms of sectors. So you can see on the right-hand side here, where we effectively apply a sector lens to the same methodology as we're using in the other rankings. So Nina, you able to say a little bit about that?
Yeah, exactly. We apply similar methodology. We're only looking at the champions lens and the density lens for sectors. We're not doing the rising stars just because when looking at momentum, it's much harder to see at a sector level. I think it's very influenced typically by only a few companies. That's what we're doing. So similarly, absolute values and per capita. And we have 15 different sectors that we're looking at, from AI to fintech to food tech and climate tech and others. And you can click on one specific sector. You also can see similarly at a regional level for a sector where your city is ranking, and then easily switch between all of them to see which one arrive at the top.
Yeah. Show me maybe if we take robotics, for example, it's cool. Robotics is awesome. And maybe we then start with the APAC area.
Sure, yes.
Yeah. And then you see some cities.
Lots of Chinese cities
of course.
featured here. So Tokyo as well, and third place for APAC on robotics. And you see the kind of delta number here is what their positioning in this sector is compared to their overall ranking. So where you kind of over-index in a particular sector and is your particular sector strength.
And that's important for that flywheel again, right? If you have companies that are successful in robotics and then giving back again, so you get an even further concentration of talent and capital, right, on the sector. So that's how you look at this one. Yeah, and maybe if you then look at Europe, maybe, and then you see a nice, some cities and names like Munich, for example, and Zurich, like Lille in France, like cities like really having a lot of momentum in that sector. Yeah.
Yes. On some of the questions in the chat, though, so we had one which was about where can I find the methodology of the ranking. So the button at the top here, download report. This is a 59-slide deck which has got lots of analysis about the different regions, the different rankings, but also for methodology. And also, if you have any questions, you can obviously get in touch on that as well. We had a question on if we can cover Milan and France. So should we pick a French hub? So this is a kind of city-based ranking, so that's one thing. But we can.
I think we had a question on Grenoble before.
Oh yeah, okay. Let's do that. So we can compare those two as well. So I think, yeah, on the global champions, I'm not surprised to see Milan really strong here because they are kind of a bigger city. I wonder if we click to density. Yeah, here we go. This is where we see Grenoble really kind of punching above their weight, because for a smaller tech ecosystem, they actually have a lot of output and raise a lot of capital as well. And yeah, we can have a look at their numbers overall. So they're actually 35 globally for the density leader ranking, which is pretty impressive. Nice. Any other questions you're spotting in the chat? We had Miami and Austin. Oh,
Yeah.
the kind of insurgent, big rivals to Silicon Valley, perhaps, the newer tech hubs. Let's compare some of those. So Austin definitely ahead here, but I think if we have a look, that's on density, and if we have a look at global, so we see they're actually pretty close on early venture capital. That's kind of what we've seen in some of the analysis we've done on Miami in the past. I think that they've kind of had a lot of early stage activity and a lot of growth. And if we have a look at rising stars, fairly evenly matched, so 30th, 67th, but yeah, certainly Austin shading it at the moment between the two of those two.
Cool. Any final questions, maybe?
Yeah, got a lot. That's why I'm trying to keep up. What are the main factors behind Tokyo's recognition in the defense sector? I would appreciate if you could share the insights. I think when it was robotics that we could see that Tokyo was ranked really high. I think on defense, it's not the case, which is maybe not surprising. So let's have a look at that. We actually do see them ranking really high for defense. That's interesting. So we can have a look at that potentially. But yeah, we see them doing really well in robotics and AI, but we can have a look into where the defense piece is coming from. It could be kind of to do with broader resilience and security areas where they're doing well. There's certainly less going on in terms of like pure defense and like on the weapons side that you'd be seeing in Tokyo and in Japan in general. But all of this data comes from Dealroom, so it runs off all the underlying data of the companies and the venture capital and every deal that's happening all the time. So we can drill down it to deal level underneath any of this data as well. If you're interested, then you can absolutely get in touch.
Yeah, and maybe mention. Then we wrap up maybe. Then people can play with the dashboard. Of course, also the button to download the report, 65 pages. Where even more insights and more analysis are done. So I hope this is super helpful for everybody. Play around, let us know. And thank you for watching.
Yeah, we'd love to know your feedback. Please play around with the tool. We hope you find it useful. Let us know what you do with it as well. We hope to see you all soon.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thank
very
you.
much.